and not talking bullshit after games when it goes wrong.
Yeah, but
to get some respect for.
I can see that he's defending his players. He's not giving them a shoe in the press. All I can say is I hope that they're getting a shoe in behind closed doors because they were terrible, absolutely terrible on Friday night.
Yeah, they still sit in fifth in the table, which is remarkable. I mean, everyone talks so positively about how Cass are going and how Wakefield were going and what Widnes were doing earlier in the year. St Helens are above all of those sides.
Well, that's a marker of what your expectations of St Helens are, and the fact that they're outside that top four and probably won't make it into that top four unless there's a real sea change is indicative of their decline, and by degrees that is a steep decline for a team of St Helens' expectations.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously Warrington, they're sitting high. So we'll go through the stats now, and we'll pick out some of the key performers. So other than on the penalty count, Saints were much worse across the board than their visitors. Meters were fairly close, but Wire made 4 more breaks, 4 fewer errors, and 4% better team tackle success. So it sort of shows across the board Wire were some sort of 4 better. Stefan Ratchford, he had a try, 7 tackle busts, 133 metres. Chris Sandow with a try assist, 5 tackle busts, 2 clean breaks. Gene Ormsby, 118 metres. And Ryan Atkins again, Tom. A try, 5 tackle busts, 3 successful offloads. From the Saints side of things, the cartoon dog had 128 metres, always pleasing to see. James Roby, 45 tackles. Jack Owens on the other wing to the cartoon dog, he had 113 metres. And Luke Thompson as well sneaks in 102 metres for Big Luke. On the fan reviews, this was actually the most reviewed game of the weekend, so that's pretty cool. Cutthroat Jake, he just simply said, Diane is right. Although Diane moved away from her Saints are shit, because Diane said, first time I could watch a match live since Good Friday, and only to discover that Saints are even more shit than they were when I last watched them live. Wally Frogmore, another St Helens fan, he got in touch with a couple of stuff here. The first one is, I never really liked rugby league anyway. I'm pretty sure he must like it. The Dragons are, points deduction assisted on the cusp of the top 8, aren't they, in the NRL? He also said, remember when I said Saints would finish in the top 4? Ha 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 ha, oh dear. Cryy emoticon, resigned emoticon, grumpy emoticon. Wire Joe said...
grumpy one, is it? That's more like despondent, downward looking one.
I don't really know what they are. Anyway. The emoticons. Emoticons. Wire Joe got in touch. He said, good win for the boys, but we didn't really have to get out of second gear for it. Great effort up front from us. Really hope we sign Ben Julien on a lengthy contract because he gets better every week. Shame we let them have 4 points, but hopefully that'll keep Cunningham in a job for a little longer. Wouldn't want them to get rid of him, would we? Tom Eckley got in touch. He said, another great team performance all round. Have to say, I thought James Child had a great game as well. Josephine Cunningham, which I fully expect is not really Josephine Cunningham or anyone with any link to the Cunningham family, but clearly a...
Oh, I was thinking about this. This is obviously kicked, isn't it?
Yeah, this is taking the piss, but it's funny enough, so it made it in. I didn't delete it. And it says, I couldn't make it to the game tonight, but my Kieran tells me the lads did brilliantly. Best Saints side in 30 years, he says. If things keep going well as Kieran says they are, 2016 is going to be better than the year he walked on the moon with Gaz off Geordie Shore.
Brilliant.
I haven't got a fucking clue who Gaz off Geordie Shore is, though. Sam Rowlett said, bloody love land.
Oh, come on, you know who Gaz off Geordie Shore is.
I don't.
Well, it's...
All I know...
Sure.
All I know is there was one of them that was a bit gobby and a bit loose round the waist and stuff, and now she's dead fit. That's all I know about Geordie Shore.
No, Gazzy's one of the blokes off it. He's constantly shagging the same girl from it. He's a bit of a Lothario and what have you. I don't know. I know what she's talking about.
Okay. Sam Rowlett, she said, bloody love Lantry Park, always good for 2 points. Saints leaving Nosey Road is as good as the introduction of the pass-back rule in football stopping Liverpool winning league titles as far as Wire are concerned. Brilliant. Sam went on to say, will the pulling down of the KFC statue be a public event like the Saddam Hussein statue? Yeah, they're going to drag it through the streets of St Helens, aren't they?
That's amazing.
Paul Ludo Lewis got in touch. He said, Wire looked brilliant, Saints looked very poor. Even Atkins is looking good this season. By the way, I'm thinking of moving to another planet just before the grand final, as I can't cope if it actually is their year. And then Tyler Cass found to round things off. Wire not at their best, but didn't have to be, as Saints looked stale, devoid of ideas, and Wilkins not a halfback.
That's true, Tyler, well put. So, what was the tale of the round then, Mark?
Well, the players, they mustn't have been enjoying the warmer weather this weekend, because this week's round had the most errors of any round so far in Super League this year, with 164 in total, Tom.
Wow. Good show.
In terms of the...
yeah, carry on. So what was the ramifications for predictions and Super Brew and Dream Team?
Well, I went 5 out of 6 again this week. You went 4 out of 6, so you're closing the gap, but not quite close enough. I think it was the Salford one that did you in. Yes. Obviously, Hull KR and Wakefield busted a lot of coupons right at the start.
Oh, heartbreaking start to the weekend, isn't it?
Yeah, in Super Brew, Elliot Wrench stays at the top, but I was the biggest mover this week, up 9 places, and I'm wearing the yellow cap as we speak, Thomas.
Right.
Lee Stevens, he took the spoon, so commiserations there. In the Dream Team, John Dix with 688 was the best scorer this week. We haven't heard from John for a while, have we?
No, it's been a little bit of time.
Yeah, Alan Bagley stays top as well, but yeah, get in touch, John, we miss you.
We do. Oh, bless him. Oh,
right.
Bless him. Well.
So, as you've already mentioned before, I'm going to cover off some other results for us now, Tom, and then you'll be back on the line for your predictions shortly. Other results then, and we'll start as we usually do in the Championship, where it was round 16, and it kicked off on Saturday with Whitehaven hosting Lee. It finished 36 points to 12 in favour of the Centurions in that one. Then Batley also, they beat Oldham 42 points to 18 on the biggest shock of the weekend, probably, and the most exciting finish, if not the most exciting game. We move over to Odsal, and it was Dewsbury 16, Bradford 14, with Paul Sykes, the former Bulls hero, kicking a penalty on the hooter to win the game after a late Bradford comeback. Then Featherstone overcame their rubbish week last week at the Bash. They won 58 points to 12 over a Swinton Lions side. Tyler Cassvan actually got in touch about this one as well, so he covered almost all of the teams in the Five Towns area this week. He said, one of a few blowouts this week in the Championship, he said, sorry. This game was a bit of an arm wrestle for 55 minutes. The game turned on a sin bin in for Swinton. Fev scored 2 quick tries and then ran away with the game. Halifax, Featherstone's defeaters last week. They won 60 points to 22 over the hapless, woeful, disappointing Sheffield Eagles, whose season now must be getting close to thinking about stopping any relegation threats rather than thinking about the middle eights as they were this time last year. Then finally a team that is looking strong for the middle eights and looking good. Half century was pulled with London Broncos winning 50 points to 28 over Workington. Didn't quite have it all their own way with Jared Samet in the tries again, but London did more than enough on home to keep that 100% home record intact. Lee then stay top of the table with London second and Batley in third. Featherstone and Halifax both leapfrog Bradford, who fall to 6. Obviously Tom is gutted that he's not here to talk all about Bradford's second defeat of the season to the Rams. Into League One, there was a catch-up game midweek actually. York were 32 points to 14 winners over the Coventry Bears. Brian Davies went to this one. He got in touch. He said, an understrength Coventry with several players using the expected free weekend for a holiday against a tired York who played on the Saturday. The Bears came back from 4 down to lead 10-4, but the game turned on a silly Bears sin bin for slowing a 20-metre tap. York are a good side, but the Bears are improving too. If York had a kicker, they'd be great. Then into this weekend's round of fixtures. Toulouse were 46 points to 26 winners over Doncaster in what we had thought would be the game of the week, but Toulouse are just proving too strong in this division. South Wales 16, North Wales 30 in the Welsh derby. Keighley were 36 winners to 14 against Newcastle in their follow-up after the big celebrations for the iPro Cup win. Oxford 28, Hemel 4, which was Oxford's first win of the season. Ollie Smith got in touch. He said, "Gutted to miss this game, but from the reports I've heard, it sounds like we deserved our first league win and our first league win at our new home. Bring on next week versus Coventry. Come on, you Blues." Then we have Hunslet, who were 26 to 18 winners over London Scholars. So that was probably a big win for Hunslet if they trying to make ground up on those above them in the table. Gloucestershire All Goals were 16 points to 52 losers against the Barrow Raiders down there in Cheltenham, and Alan Witts got in touch. He said, "A woeful second half performance from the All Goals. The first half ended 16-all in a tit-for-tat game. All Goals holding their own. Then 2 tries in 5 second half minutes let heads drop, and Barrow put the All Goals to the sword. The first half promised a lot. It's a shame they let themselves down. All Goals in need of a win. Not bad for a fiver though." Martin, who I don't know much more about other than his first name, but thanks for getting in touch, Martin. Tell us a bit more about yourself and get in touch more often, please. He said, "Baking hot day in Cheltenham. Even first half, you score, we score. 16-all at the break. Second half, Gloucestershire never got going and Barrow put on 14 unanswered points in the first 6 minutes. Gloucestershire became increasingly desperate and gave away both penalties and possession far too often to finally lose 16-52. And then finally, York in their second game of the week were 40 points to 12 winners over the Rochdale Hornets, who were previously at the top of the table. So a big win for York there. Toulouse now go top on points difference. Oxford, with their first win of the year, they move off the bottom also on points difference. So well done to those two sides. Looking down under, and we're going to start with Wednesday's Origin Game 1. Not the biggest spectacle that you've ever seen in your life. It finished Queensland 6, New South Wales 4 over in Sydney, and it was a game where both sides very much cancelled each other out in the forward pack, really, and then there wasn't much space outside of that for the outside backs to show what they can do. A controversial disallowed try in the second half for the Blues, but I don't think on the balance of the game that they were probably good enough to edge over this Queensland side, who just defended, and defence was the order of the day. No points scored in the second half, obviously. We did get plenty in from you guys on this one, and I will start with Alan Witts. He said, "Not the game that it was hyped up to be, but a bruising match. Some big names were very quiet, JT and GI for example. New South Wales have some big guys up front and some good outside backs, but there was no creativity linking the two. Queensland ground out the tight game and will be hoping to do better in Game 2. Yeah, Game 2, I hope it's better as well. To be honest, Brian Davies, he summed it up in a 3-word match report. He said, that was dull. Lee Whitnell, he got in touch with a couple of posts, actually, and Lee said, I was expecting a tough, attritional, low-scoring game, and got exactly that. You could tell that the players don't play together every week, with New South Wales especially guilty of failing to make sustained pressure pay and picking the wrong option in good positions. Yeah, that's a great point, Lee, and obviously it's another new halfback combination for the Blues, which they seem to relish putting together every year. Like, that's the answer. He said Queensland should wrap up the series in Game 2 in front of their own fans, but this is a good experience for players like Maloney, Moylan and Reynolds, who will hit their pomp as the Queensland old guard hand over to younger players in the coming years. I think the risk of that, though, Lee, is the Queensland younger players, the two halfbacks that are next in line, play together already for the club side at Brisbane, so you've got to wonder how that might work out in 3 to 4 years' time. Okay, Bernard JKD, he got in touch. He said, can the Aussies stop telling us why Origin is so good and instead explain why it's always so turgid and utterly unremarkable? Paul Ludo Lewis said, 4-6, best game of rugby league in the world. Give me Wakey versus Hull KR any day. And then final word, more positive spin on the game actually than what we've heard from most. And this is a man living the experience down under, Richard Wilkinson. He says, not a pretty game, but a game I loved from start to finish. Queensland did enough whilst the Blues didn't make the most of their chances. A tough ask for the Blues now as they go to Suncorp, but as an adopted New South Welshman, I'm keeping the faith. Go the Blues. So there you go, into the more